According to my computer now, we should be live. Oh, here we go.
Yes, you're on. Right, it's just gone to advert. Brilliant. Right, go. Hang on. You're on.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Super Yacht Captain YouTube channel. I do apologise for those of you who've been waiting. We've been experiencing a few technical issues. It all literally went wrong just as I was supposed to start the stream. But anyway, back on now. Thank you all for joining from around the world. The last stream I did was probably about 2 months ago. So recently, the last few weeks, I've been away, so I know the channel's been a little bit quiet, but I'm very thankful for those that have joined. So without further ado, let's start going through all the different questions that are starting to come in. And so we'll start off here. Let's see what you guys are asking. Now the chat isn't coming in, guys. Sorry guys, I'm just not receiving the live chat at the moment, so I don't know what's going on. Live chat, go. Sorry guys, just bear with me 1 second because apparently it says here I'm unable to connect to the chat, so I'm just trying to sort that out. So do bear with me just 2 minutes. Trying to get this, I don't know why this is not working. Close that one. That's weird. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on here, guys, but it seems to not be loading the chat for me. Anyway, I've got a few questions here which I'm going to answer. And so start off with the first question. Sorry, just bear with me a second, guys. Hello? Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the questions. Which is the biggest yacht that that I have seen? So basically, that is going to be. No, it's not coming on. Okay, the biggest yacht I've ever seen has been probably Motor Yacht Eclipse. Now, Eclipse is over 160 meters, which is owned by Roman Abramovich. He's better known for owning the Chelsea soccer team. During the summer, pretty pre-season around May, June time, they tend to be anchored in the bay just out the port of Golfe-Juan in the south of France, which is between Cannes and Antibes. It was built by Lursen a number of years ago, and it was the largest yacht in the world lengthwise until they launched Azam. Azam is now 180 meters, and as some of you already know, there's a Norwegian gentleman that is building Motor Yacht Rev. I did a video in it earlier this year, which you may or may not have seen. If not, just go and check out the videos we've got. It's going to be 183, 184 meters, so just 3 or 4 meters bigger than Azam. Okay, so guys, next question is what is the oddest request you've got from a charter guest? I'll tell you actually a very funny story, guys. I won't say who the guest was, but we were cruising from Saint Tropez to, where we go? We're going to Cannes actually. And it was a bit choppy. It wasn't rough, it was a little bit choppy. And we had the principal guest, he was lying on the sofa. And his wife comes up behind me. She says, Tristan, it's kind of a bit choppy, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it is a little bit choppy. She goes, the boat's moving around a little bit. I said, don't worry about it. We'll be arriving in Cannes in about 20, 30 minutes time. And she goes, yeah, it's a bit too choppy. Can you make it stop? And I looked at her and I was like, did you just really ask that question? And the principal guest, her husband, is behind her. He just starts rolling his eyes back. And, obviously living in a different world. And I said to her, I'll see what I can do. I don't think I can, but I'll do my best. So that was quite an odd request. Anyway, next question. What we got here? The top 3 most beautiful places you visited while captaining on AWOL. Now, I think, guys, I mentioned quite a few times that my favorite cruising ground in the Med is Croatia. The reason being, it's got something for everyone. It's got beautiful inland waterways. It's got very quiet nature reserves for people who want a chilled, relaxed time. It's got party islands. It's got islands like towns like Dubrovnik, which is these beautiful old villages and towns. And then as you head further north, you then head into Venice, into Italy. Now, also another favorite cruising ground of mine is Montenegro. Now, Montenegro is just beautiful, full of these beautiful mountain ranges. The fuel there is very cheap, and fortunately, also the women are also very beautiful. Next question. Barry Forts, who is responsible for the visas on board and why? Okay, so the visas on board for the crew is done by our local agent. So we have an agent and we say to them, look, we've got South African crew, we've got Canadian crew, and they will sort out the visas for us. When it comes to the charter guests, they have to get their visas before coming on board. So what will happen, they will book the trip, they will organize the visas, they will need to send me copies of their passports and of their visas, and then we have to make sure that it's all correct with our local agent, and if they're happy, we give them the go-ahead. Okay, next question. Can't really see the questions at the moment. One second. James, can't see the questions. Which is your favorite port? Commission the channel, blah blah blah. Especially important. Does AWOL do transatlantic capabilities? So AWOL is built by San Lorenzo. It's a GRP boat. It does have the range, but due to the builds, I wouldn't cross the Atlantic on AWOL. I would rather put it on what's called, a yacht transport ship. And basically, it's a shipping company that specializes in transporting super yachts, sailing yachts, smaller vessels from the Med to the Caribbean. Now, there are pros and cons to each. The pros of putting it onto a ship is you're reducing your engine hours. Essentially, you're on a dry dock, so they dry dock the vessel onto the ship, and your crew, so your engineers and your crew, can essentially stay on board and do the yard work for that 2 to 3 week crossing period. Another advantage is if it gives the opportunity also for the crew to have time off. So while the ship is then transporting the yacht to the Caribbean for those 2-3 weeks, you can give your crew time off if there's minimal or little maintenance to do on board. The other benefit, as well, is that you do get hit by a storm, you're not hammering the boat, and then by the time you get to the Caribbean, the boat is normally ready to go for charter. Whereas if you've done Atlantic crossing, there's a lot of maintenance to do, a lot of servicing. There's always things that are going to break that need repairing, because as you know, these big super yachts have very, elegant, equipment on board, and these things, when you hit bad weather, they do tend to break. Super yachts in general are designed for fair weather sailing. Based on, they have all crystal glasses. Some of the big super yachts have chandeliers and these kind of things. So they're not built really for heavy, hardcore seas. Next question. Sorry guys, bear with me 1 second. Okay, so next question we've got here. Blah, blah, blah. Tristan, what is happening with the raffle? Okay, so as some of you already know, we have launched, which has been a long process, the possibility to win a week's all-inclusive vacation on board motor yacht AWOL. And basically, everyone's asking, how does it work, this and the other, is it illegal, is it illegal? This is what we know. We've gone through a company called Raffle. They are a UK company that specialize in these types of these competitions. So they're a third party. They got nothing to do with us. We approached them, so we've got this yacht. We want to give people the opportunity to win a week's vacation on board, and they said, "Yeah, we can do that. We have the the website for it. It's what we do. We are licensed through the UK government, so it's, as far as we know, it is all legitimate." We posted the competition online. And for those who don't know, the way it works is that the tickets, we're selling for £15 a ticket, which is equivalent to, say, $20 US. And you have to answer a very simple question, and then you get entered into the draw. Now, before the draw, to be very clear, we need to sell 40,000 tickets, okay, in order to cover the costs of the charter, to cover the cost of all the flights for the winner plus 5 of their own guests, so it's 6 guests in total. We cover the cost for the fuel, the berthing fees. We pay all the agency fees. We have to pay tax on the winnings for the raffle, and we have to pay VAT on the value of the charter. So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, you're making too much money," but the reality is the cost is higher than people think, because a lot of people don't understand what the process we need to go through in order to make this happen. So if you haven't done already, guys, go check out the tickets. I think we put a link in the description below, so go and check out the link, go and buy your tickets, because you can win a week's holiday on board, or a week's vacation on board motor yacht AWOL. Right, okay, so next question. So a few people have been asking me. I posted a video yesterday. Unfortunately, Motor Yacht Andiamo, which is owned by the singer Mark Anthony, caught fire the other day, and as a result of the fire, it capsized and pretty much sunk. And people want to know, what my opinion is. I've experienced fire on board, which resulted also in total loss of the vessel. What I learned from a fire on a yacht, and what I learned from training, the STCW 2010 basic safety training, and what I learned from the drills that we do, is people have this perception that when we do the fire training, is that we've been trained to be firefighters. Now, this is where people make the mistake. The training that we do, we're not professional firefighters. We are there to make sure that we save lives, okay? So everybody asks, why didn't you go and fight the fire? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? The reality is when I train my crew on board, is if we have a person inside that is trapped, I will send the crew in their BA suits to go and rescue that person. If the fire has reached a point where the sprinklers, the onboard sprinklers, haven't put the fire out, everybody is accounted for. I will not send my crew in. I will abandon ship because my crew are not firefighters. This is where a lot of people make the mistake. They're not trained firefighters. We do drills. They have basic safety firefighting training. And this is where it's really important to understand where the line is. When do you send your guys in that aren't trained firefighters? They've got understanding of firefighting. They're not trained firefighters. And when do you say, no, we abandon ship? From experience, the fire that we had, I understand the speed at which these fires spread, especially on GRP boats, so the fiberglass boats. And I understand the heat. You can't explain the heat that you feel from these boats. And there's no way, when you feel that kind of heat, there is no way I'm going to send any of my crew in with that kind of heat to go and fight a fire unless there's somebody unaccounted for. So, I don't know the result of the fire. I don't know the cause of the fire. I hope everybody's okay. That's all that matters. I don't know the cause of the fire, but I can give a educated guess. I would say it's an electrical fire. But again, I don't know the facts. Once I know the facts, I'll post an update for you guys of what happened. For me personally, as a captain that's been in the industry now for almost 2 decades, you hit bad weather. You can have water ingress. The scariest thing that you could ever experience on board any vessel, in my opinion, is fire. It is terrifying. And people don't understand. People don't understand that you are surrounded by water. How can a vessel catch on fire? They do, and they burn exceptionally quickly. So, I think everybody's okay. It was great to see the other vessels. They were using their fire hoses. They were up running. The fire teams were there, and as you may have seen, the only way they managed to put the fire out is when the boat was pretty much sunk. So you had multiple firefighting teams trying to put the fire out, but they couldn't. Unfortunately, the reason is because the products they're using to build these vessels are extremely, extremely flammable. You can smother it with water, and as soon as you take it off, if the heat is still there and it's got the oxygen, it will reignite again. So that's my thoughts on the fire that happened to Mark Anthony's boat. I believe it was a 2007 Benetti. It was a similar size to AWOL. And, is this goes to show the importance of electrical maintenance, of yacht maintenance, the importance of ISM, the importance of drills, every single month or multiple times a month, just drill. It is so, so, so important, guys. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Are you going to the Monaco Formula 1 Grand Prix for 2020? We've had a few inquiries. What I can say is the inquiries we've been having has been possibly one of the F1 teams. I can't say which one, and they haven't confirmed the charter, but there's a high possibility that we will be attending 2020's F1, possibly with one of the teams, but I can't confirm it because nothing's been signed yet. Next question. Do guests ever hit on you? We've had guests a few times that do flirt with the crew, but it's, I think being the captain, I've never had a guest, hit on me because I do establish a line of professionalism. If I see it's kind of going down that kind of road, normally it tends to be after a few drinks. I tend to separate myself from the guests and go to the bridge, and then let the stewardesses, make sure they're well looked after. AWOL sale question, and is the owner okay? This is a question that's been happening a lot on the channel about the status of AWOL. Is it for sale? Isn't it for sale? What's going to happen to the crew if AWOL does sell? And this is exactly what's the way it is. almost every single super yacht in the world is for sale. Okay, the reason being is that people will buy these yachts at a certain price, and people will either want to kind of grow, go bigger, or they want to try and make some money. And in our case, the owner does want to go bigger. So what will happen if AWOL was to sell? If AWOL was to sell, we would, the crew and I would move on to the owner's new bigger boat. A lot of people have been asking, when it comes to the Raffle, the competition, what's going to happen if AWOL sells the competition? It's going to be a benefit to the winner, because the winner will win a week all inclusive on board the new vessel, which is going to be bigger and better and more cabins, more space, more toys. So that's the status at the moment. The owner, if he suddenly decides he doesn't want to buy another boat, that he wants to be out of yachting completely, which I will find very, so I'll be very surprised about, is he will sell the boat, and ideally we would either stay on with a new owner or we'll go and find a new job. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. I don't think it will. And yeah, at the moment it is for sale. We've had a few viewings, nothing set in stone yet, but the reality is, as some of you know, we did do the big refit last year. I said to Yona, now is the time to sell, because we did a big refit, engineering, full paint job. We did our 10-year survey. The boat is in better condition. It is actually in better condition than when it was new. And it's a perfect boat. It's a great charter boat, a great setup, a lot of volume for a 37-meter boat. So for the new buyer or new owner, it'll be a great boat, great for chartering or even private use. And then we'll see what we get in the future. Anyway, guys, we'll move on to the next question. Can you smoke on AWOL? So the smoking policy is very simple. There's no smoking inside the boat at all. We do have ashtrays outside, so when you're sitting on the sun deck, on the main deck aft, or the bridge deck aft, you can smoke cigarettes. There's ashtrays, so yeah, no problem. What is the weekly running costs? So unfortunately, guys, I've mentioned multiple times before, I can't discuss the running costs on board Motor Yacht AWOL. I can discuss things like how much it costs to berth, because that's public information. But what happens internally, as I'm sure you can understand, I'm unable to talk about. What are your top 5 yacht manufacturers? That's a very good question, and I think let me answer that question a little bit later. I need to think about it, actually. Your favorite dish that the chef makes for you? Oh my god. So Chef James, if you don't follow him on Instagram. His Instagram account is called @the_right with a W chef. So @the_right chef. One of the favorite meals that he makes, I would say, his risotto. His risotto is absolutely killer. It is stunning. I've never been to a restaurant or nobody's ever cooked me such an amazing risotto. But he has so many other amazing foods that he does, from meats to fish to vegetarian dishes. But I would say risotto is one that stands out the most. Can you have disabled people on AWOL? So unfortunately, AWOL hasn't been designed for people with disabilities. We have had people with certain disabilities on board that we have helped and make them as comfortable as possible. But if you're asking, do we have wheelchair access on board? Unfortunately, we don't. That's purely based on the design of the boat. There are charter vessels out there that do cater for wheelchair access. But when we bought AWOL when it's secondhand, it wasn't designed for, unfortunately for, people with disabilities, but we do the best that we can. What is the restrictions in terms of dropping your anchor off a tourist beach for the day or overnight? So it depends where you are. So Mediterranean in general is 200 meters from the coast. There are some areas like in Sardinia, in the Maddalena Islands, that they say they're 300, 350 meters from the coast. But in general, it is around 200 meters to anchor. And you'll be very careful where you anchor. Ideally, you won't be anchoring on top of sand. You don't be anchoring on top of any kind of sea vegetation, rocks, things like that. So you basically check your charts to make sure you're anchoring in the correct places. Hull for transatlantic. Recommended thickness of hull for trans. So someone's asking, what for the thickness of the hull for transatlantic. Now, it doesn't really depend on the thickness. It depends on the design of the vessel, the material. You can have aluminium hulls, you can have steel hulls, you can have GRP hulls, you can have carbon fiber hulls. It really depends on, for me, internally of the vessel, the way it's structured inside. It's not so much the hull of the vessel, because you can get 30-foot sailing vessels, which are mass produced, that are doing, transatlantic crossings. Okay, next question, guys. Who handles the business side of running the boat? Do you change everything and someone to some far off land? Okay, so the management of AWOL is distributed in separate departments. So we have one department which focuses on the financial side. So basically, essentially, giving us a budget, paying the invoices, getting the quotes together. We have another side of the company which does our ISM. Now, ISM is the International Safety Management System we carry on board. So that basically what that means is for every duty that's carried out, there is a checklist they need to go through. For example, refueling. Some of you may have seen the refueling video. Basically, it's a checklist we have to go through. We got to tick off all the boxes before we start bunkering. Sorry, before, during, and after bunkering fuel. Another department that we have is the person that does all the paperwork in terms of classification certificates, certificates for the crew, flag certification. That's another separate side of things. So we have 3 or 4 separate parts of the company that specialize in each department on board the boat. Okay, next question we got here. New support boat, one new super yacht, what would you want? That's a good question. So one of the questions we're getting here is, would I want a support vessel for AWOL, or would I want a bigger boat? Now, there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to both. I've mentioned this before, I think in a few other videos. The pros of having what we call a shadow vessel is, it can carry all the water toys, it can carry extra provisions for the guests and for the crew. And when you're setting up for the day, the shadow vessel can shoot ahead, drop anchor, set all the toys up. So by the time the mother vessel, arrives, everything's all ready for the guests. Now, the pros of going for a bigger boat is we've got a greater cruising ground. So if we go bigger, we'll probably be doing, worldwide cruises. I've got an itch. I really want to go to the fjords of Norway. I really want to do the Northern Oceans. And, so there's pros and cons of both. And maybe on the bigger boat, there's a chance that we might get a helipad on board. So stay tuned for that one. Next question. Okay. Registration board. Much cheaper than diesel. Okay, sorry guys, 1 second, bear with me. Use board boat, one use port yacht. Does the owner have 1 second, guys. Sorry guys, bear with me, it's a bit slow here. Does the owner have a new yacht on radar for when AWOL sells? Yes, we do, but we're not going to tell you. So unfortunately, I can't say at the moment. We have 1 or 2 on our radar. It's a vessel that I've been on board that I recommended to the owner, which I think is going to be a great vessel. and we'll see, guys. Okay, so another question we're getting a lot is the helipad, the helicopters, how it works on board a super yacht. So, you know, the way it kind of works, do you have a pilot? The way it works with helicopters, you know, what is the benefit of having a helicopter on a super yacht? Now, there are multiple benefits. You know, the basic being, when a guest, say you got a guest coming in from the States and you're in the Med and they land, let's say for example in Nice airport in the south of France, there's a time period they got to get in the car, they've got to go and find the boat and then join the boat. They can have the helicopter meet them at the airport with all their luggage, take off. The boat is just in the water next door. They can come and land straight onto the vessel's helipad. So basically, it's all about time saving for the clients and the clientele. Sorry, guys, just bear with me 1 second. And so, yeah, so, you know, and the way it works is that normally you have a pilot on board. Every time the helicopter takes off on land, it has to have a BA team ready. What does that mean? Is that the guys are wearing their full firefighting outfits. The hoses have been pressurized and are live to go, as in the fire hoses. The foam is ready. All the crew are at their stations ready for takeoff and landing. So it's quite a process for to carry a helicopter on board. And the maintenance, as you can possibly imagine, it goes up than standard because you're in a salty environment full of seawater, and so it's a lot more maintenance for the captain and for the engineers as well. Anyway, so next question. What would you make easier for the crew if you could change maritime law? Okay, if I could change maritime law, I would go probably, you know, this is just my opinion. I would go straight to the MCA. Now, the MCA is the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. All my certification is issued by the MCA. Let me start by saying I think they're a great organization. They set the world's standards, I think the world's highest standards in the industry. Sorry, guys, 1 second. So their standards are very high. Now, their standards, what they do is based on the maritime, it's basically the merchant shipping. So what they've done with their licensing and the way they've done their packaging, you know, they do the Yacht Master, so the Master of Yachts 500, the Master 3000. It is kind of all kind of based down to yachting. But there's still a lot of merchant stuff involved. And what I would want is that when you get examined as a Master 500 or a Master 3000 or Master 200, you are examined by a guy who is a merchant captain and has never been a yacht captain. I've had questions asked to me in my oral examinations saying, you know, what, you know, that I felt weren't related to yachting. So what I would change is I would have examiners that have worked in the super yacht industry examining super yacht crew. That's the one thing I would change from my personal experience. Sorry, I know you're experiencing some buffering, guys. I do apologize. It's you know, 6 p.m. here on Saturday. I think a lot of people in my local area getting home are using their internet. So I do apologize for any delays on that. Anyway, let's move on to the questions. So what we've got here, guys. Absolute Magnitude have asked a question. Some of you may know Absolute Magnitude is one of our sponsors. What they do is they provide great cleaning products on board, eco-friendly cleaning products. They do surface treatment for paint, gel coats. They do teak, the best teak cleaning products and teak sealant products. And they also do, basic yacht maintenance, and they do yachts. They're looking after yachts during boat shows as well. And their question is, what do you think would make crew job easier if you changed the maritime law? That's one question just asked. Next question. How do you feel about helicopters? How long can you stay out on AWOL without coming back in for refuel and provisioning? So the fridges on AWOL are quite limited. So the chef says between 3 and 4 days with maximum guests, so 12 guests and a crew, so 20 people, so four days. Now bigger boats, they have big walk-in fridges and they can last for a few weeks at a time. So for AWOL, for food, 4 days. Apart from that, we can probably be out on anchor 2 or 3 weeks, I'd say. So what we normally do, you may see we've done a video about provisioning on a super yacht. We've been at anchor, we send the chase boat in to go and collect the provisions and then bring them to the mothership. Okay. Thinker77, thank you for me and my friend. We are loving the live chat. Would you consider consulting and design a yacht for a famous person? So, one of my goals is to be involved in designing of a yacht. After being in the industry for so many years, even today, it shocks me how some yachts are designed. They put design over practicality, and in some cases, the design is just purely dangerous. And from a captain's point of view, it's very frustrating. So, Thinker77, the answer is yes. I would love to help design a yacht. I would love to be involved. I think that will be a future career path of mine, is super yacht design. But I'll be more interested in the practical and technical sides of design, not so much the aesthetics side of the design. But so to answer your question, yes. Okay, next question. Okay, guys. Right, other questions. Oh yes. So we we have started a Patreon account. So if you guys go to www.patreon.com/superyachtcaptain, we are helping people who are new to the industry looking for jobs to come into the industry. So for a very small fee, I'm mentoring new crew. A lot of people are saying, wanting help and, my knowledge and my experience for them to get in the industry. So we've helped a number of people so far. We've been guiding them to the courses that they should be doing, guiding them how to find work, where to stay, and, essentially, how to present yourself to a captain or to a senior member of crew when applying for a job or when, having a job interview. Sorry guys, bear with me a second. Anyway, so again, if you're interested in finding work, you can go to the Patreon account. Otherwise, we have other ways of doing it. Is what else we're doing? Helping new we're helping new yacht owners, people looking to buy boats, guide them in the right way, because a lot of boat buyers get a lot of bad advice. And then when you come to us, is that we have no incentive to give you bad advice. We have good incentive, because people that are trying to sell you particular will tell you what you want to hear, whereas we will tell you what you need to hear: the reality of owning a boat, the reality of maintaining a boat, and the reality of particular boat builders. Right, so where is Slav? You need him. So somebody's saying, where is Slav? So Slav at the moment is on his Christmas vacation. We had him on board all this week, sorry. We've now broken up for Christmas. We're back on board the second week of January. So Slav's gone back home to see his wife and his kids. And he's doing very well. And recently we serviced the witnesses on board AWOL. Okay, so next set of questions. Loyalty is to the owner, not to the boat. The owner is awesome, so the crew will likely move with him. Yep, that's correct. No to AWOL is his baby, he won't leave. So people are asking, would I stay on AWOL or will I stay with the owner? The reality is I will stay with the owner, because I started the owner, some of you may know, on Motor Yacht Lizzie. And then from Lizzie we moved to AWOL, and then AWOL we